Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamlined Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Tonight we are talking about tasks, and a shout out to Facebook because this is where I found a post where the individual was talking about the ability to bulk edit tasks. And they were very frustrated because they couldn't bulk edit the tasks in Clio. And they were particularly interested because they wanted to bulk reassign some tasks from one person to another person. And so it got me thinking about this ability to bulk edit tasks. And while I do think it would be a really nice feature, I think there are a lot of things that we can do to try and prevent us from even needing that feature, frankly. And so I wanted to share some of those things with you to make your work with tasks in Clio that much easier. And specifically, I'm talking about task lists. And so let me hop on over to the Clio screen here and I can show you what I'm talking about. Ooh, we've got in stereo. So when we're looking at our Clio screen, you can see that I've got this matter here with a bunch of tasks in it, and most of them came from a task list, right? Now, keep in mind, you actually can bulk edit or reassign tasks if you are reassigning them from one licensed user who's no longer going to be using Clio to another licensed user. And so if you do have somebody who's leaving Clio, you can take all of their tasks and reassign them to a new person, presumably the new person that's coming into the firm, right? But it could be somebody else. Keep in mind, though, this is an all or nothing proposition. So you either reassign them all or you don't reassign any of them. You can't pick and choose which ones you want to reassign within that process. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is when you're designing your task lists, and that, by the way, we do over here under tasks, and we click on task lists over here. It's a little bit tongue twister. And when we go into our task list, much like this one here, make sure that you are using that list assignee on the tasks that can be assigned to multiple people. So for example, if I have one attorney, let's say I'm the attorney on this list, and I have my tasks assigned to me, and then I have different paralegals that I work with on each file, right? Paralegal 1, paralegal 2. And so I want to make the paralegal tasks the list assignees so that when I use this list, it will ask me which paralegal is working on the file, essentially, who do I want to assign the list to? So my tasks will stay assigned to me. If I have tasks assigned to other people, those will stay the same, but the list assignee switches to whoever I assign when I apply that list to the matter. And so that's what I want to do as often as possible so that I can use those lists in multiple different scenarios. So again, it works really well if I have, for example, one attorney that works with 3 different paralegals, or, I can go ahead and I'll assign my tasks to myself, and then I'll assign the paralegal tasks to the list assignee. And then once I put it in the matter, I can decide who that list assignee is, which paralegal is it going to be. Now, if I'm in a firm where I have different combinations of people, so I'm not working in pods where I have one attorney that always works with one paralegal, that's easy. We can just assign the task to the right people. But if I'm in a firm where different attorneys work with different paralegals, that can be more difficult because I can only have one list assignee in a task list. So I usually pick whoever it is that has the most tasks so that we don't have to manually reassign those, right? So I'll put the list assignee as the paralegal and I'll give them all their tasks. And then I will have to manually update the attorney on that list so that I can make sure I'm working with the right attorney. Because again, there's only one list assignee per list. So please do dive into those list assignees. They really will help you to be able to make sure that we are getting those tasks assigned appropriately in the first place, right? Okay, but here's my next trick. When you put your task lists in, I always put the name of the task list at the end of each task, right? I like to put it in brackets, but however you want to indicate it, I put it at the end of each task. And why do I do that? That's because when I look at my matter that has all these different task lists in it, I can very easily find the ones that I'm looking for, right? So let's say that I accidentally put in this probate task list when it absolutely doesn't belong here in my family law complaint task in matter. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the name of the list here. I put it in brackets just so that if I just search for the word probate, it could appear in many different places on my list, right? But if I put it in the brackets like that, it's going to pull up all the different tasks that are in that task list. And I can very quickly go down the line, make sure that they're all from that task list, right? Because they've got the name at the end. And I can go ahead and I can click here to select them all, right? And I can delete them all in bulk, right? To make sure that I'm deleting the whole list. Now, again, I'm going to search for the name of that list there so that I can separate those out from the tasks that might be from a different task list. Okay, so when you create your task list, again, if you put the name of the list either at the end of the description, or I should say in the description, either in the description or at the end of the name of the task, either one of those so that it can be found with this search box and the search function, you'll be able to quickly get a list out of there if you mistakenly apply it, right? Now, I don't know if this has happened to you guys ever, but I go up here to assign a task list and let's go ahead and put another complaint in here, right? So I go ahead and put my complaint task list in there. I go ahead and say who the assignee is. That'll be me. And I go ahead and apply it. And it takes a minute, right? Maybe I have a slow internet connection. Maybe Clio's running particularly slow that day, whatever it is, right? But it doesn't happen right away. And so I try it again. And then it catches up, right? And now I've got the task list applied twice, right? That's a challenge, right? Because as you'll see here, I have task A, but then I've got a task A again, right? Then I've got two task Bs and two task Cs and so on and so forth. The challenge is I could go through and start deleting them, but how do I know which one is connected to which A task is connected to which B task is connected to which C task? There's no way to know which list they came off of. Was it the first time I applied it or the second time I applied it? No way to know. Absolutely none. And so what we're going to do instead is, again, I'm going to use the name of that list and I'm going to search through all my tasks for that list and I'm going to delete both of them. It is so much easier to just delete them all in bulk and reapply the list the one time, right? Than to go through and sort and figure out which one is which. It's near impossible. You'll never be able to do it. So don't waste a lot of time doing that. Instead, just delete both of them, reapply the list once, and then you'll be in good shape. Okay. So a couple of tips there for you when you, I'm sorry, one more. This one's good. Okay. So I'm in my matter here, and let's say I've got all these tasks in here, and I figure out that this case is actually settled, right? Great news. We got it settled. It's fantastic. Okay. Now, most of the time, especially in a litigation scenario, I'm going to have a bunch of smaller lists instead of one large list, right? And so when I have a case that does settle, I don't have to delete like 100 tasks because I never put the trial tasks in. I never put the, deposition tasks in because we never got that far, right? So I have less tasks to begin with because I've been using these many smaller lists that I go ahead and apply when they're needed. But when this case does settle, I can go ahead now and again, just start bulk deleting all these tasks, right? And what I typically will do is I'll first just select them all like this, and then I'll go through and just double check there aren't a couple that I want to keep around for some reason. Maybe there's some follow-up tasks that I haven't finished. Maybe there's some things I want to follow up on, get a copy of an order or something like that. And so I may not want to delete them all. I can go ahead and unselect a couple of them that I want to keep around, right? But on the whole, most of them I'm going to delete. So I'll go ahead and select them and click delete, and then it will bulk delete them, right? Now I will warn you when you're bulk deleting tasks, that is one of the slower functionalities in Clio. So don't be alarmed, especially if you have a lot of tasks, that it might take a second or two. But it will bulk delete those in order to help you stay organized. So a couple of tips there in order to make sure that you rarely need to bulk edit your tasks if you're using them in this manner. Number one is make sure that you use a list assignee in your task list. Number two is to make sure that you have the name of the task list in each task so you can very easily search for them and bulk delete them. And then also make sure that you when your case does settle or you end the representation before the end of the tasks, you can go and bulk delete those as well. I hope that's helpful for you. I do think it would be a nice feature in order to have those the ability to bulk edit tasks in Clio, but until such time, hopefully these tips will keep you from having to do it too much. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Have a great evening.